So we'd like to welcome you guys to the coalition meeting today for October 8th, 2021. And I hope things are going well. Again, I hope everybody's gotten their coffee or their morning motivation, whatever that may be. I see Jenny had her puppy a little earlier, which was very much a wonderful thing, and morning motivation. I mean, you get it wherever you can. So wanted to start off by, as always, asking those of you who are new, if you'd like to jump in and introduce yourselves. And if you haven't been here for a while, please also reintroduce yourself to the group. Go ahead, Luis. I see you waving.
Mute myself. Just wanted to say hi. I haven't been here for a little while. My name is Luis and I work at TRM.
Thank you. Welcome.
And this is Max and this is therapy.
Nice. Hi, Max. How you doing?
It keeps me mellow.
Good deal. Well, welcome. Do we have any others that would like to introduce themselves?
Yes, hello. My name is Charles Jones, and I'm with Inside Passages. This is my first week, and I've learned so much from everyone I've met, you know, especially with Jenny. We went earlier and saw FHN and viewed their new facility, and that was really great. I had a chance to meet with some of the Cs and see how the process works. And we had a meeting yesterday where we got a lot of information from different groups that are trying to help our homeless population. And it's really heartwarming to see there's so many people in our community that are willing to just go out there and do that work, right? And I can't wait to be a part of it and see what we can all do together. So I just want to say hi to everybody, and I look forward to, if I can, working with everyone.
Good deal. I do believe I met you yesterday, Charles. It's very
Yep.
nice. Again. All righty. All right. Anyone else would like to introduce themselves? And before I pass it on to our wonderful Rosemary Powers.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Amy Gillespie, and I'm the Deputy Director at Pierce County Emergency Management. Jody's been attending a few of your meetings, our director, but she's on vacation today, so I'm filling in for her. But really glad to join the group. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here, Amy.
Hi, my name is Kedrick O'Bannon. I work with the City of Tacoma Homeless Outreach Team. I used to come to these meetings a while back when they were in person. It's been a little while, so here I am.
Okay, very good to see you.
Let's see, let me get myself open here. There I am. Hi, everyone. I'm Laurel Howard. I am a member of the HOT team with Kedrick and Tegan and Allison and all those folks. I'm new. I've only been here about a month or so. Kedrick, is that right? So
yeah,
learning the ropes.
Great, welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, at this time, I shall pass it off to Rosemary. And oh, I'm sorry. Am I talking over somebody? No, I thought I heard somebody on mute, but I might have been wrong. Apologies. All right, Rosemary.
Well, great. Good to see you, Dwayne, and thanks for hosting today. I wanted to welcome everyone, as Dwayne did, but also to acknowledge that this coming Monday is Indigenous Peoples Celebration Day, and that gives us an opportunity to remind ourselves of the importance of the land that we're on, of the history of terrible atrocities and land theft, things to remember as we do our work, and to know as well that in terms of disproportionate effects of homelessness on folks, that Native American population is in general about 1% of the population, where it's more like 4%, something like 4% of folks experiencing being unsheltered. So we know there's something that's not just about poverty, that there's something about racial discrimination that we all are facing, and at least we all should be facing, and acknowledging our presence upon the land of the Puyallup tribe is an important recognition of both the role of history and the continuing role of racism in our society. So I hope you celebrate that on Monday, the importance of acknowledging resilience and also the importance of doing work that acknowledges the continuing history. So with those of you who are new, and for those of us who could be reminded, we do have a set of norms, and I'll put those in the chat. I think I can do that here. Let's see if they go there. They had them, let's see. Well, I'll put them in the chat anyway. But I want to just bring out a couple of them. I will put in the chat when I can figure out what I'm doing again. The Puyallup tribal land acknowledgement is a small, about 1.5 minute long presentation that uses a Lushootseed language and then translates it into English so that we acknowledge that as well. But we do ask for Zoom meetings that we keep ourselves muted when we're not speaking. And while we love to see everyone's face and in their gestures when they're talking, it's not so much appreciated when you're waving your hands madly about it in whatever culture you're in that speaks with your hands. So if you're doing some other things, just to stop your video for that period of time. We also have encouraged people to use the chat function to ask additional questions, make additional comments. We want to be sure everyone has an opportunity to speak, and we ask people to step up to speak, but also to step back when we have spoken so that everyone can have a chance. And we want to hear from you, and the chat is saved and is available for people to look at after the meeting. And if you need to know how to save it, just ask that in the chat, and I'll make sure I can let you know how to do that. Also, we're trying to push ourselves, challenge ourselves on how we can be a more open and inclusive community all the time. So it's an open table, everyone is welcome. Our meetings are posted and you're all welcome to attend. And we really appreciate any help you can give us in how to make our group even more inclusive than it has been so far. So with that, Dwayne, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you, Rosemary. All right, with that, we shall now move into this week on the streets. Do we have any outreach teams updates this week? Just go ahead and unmute yourselves and speak up if you do that.
Wolf has his hand up.
Okay, go ahead, Wolf.
Yeah, so hello everyone, good morning. It's pretty early for me, but I'm Wolf from Serve People Tacoma. We did our regular outreach. I couldn't make it last week because I was helping some folks out at camp, but to this meeting, fortunately. But yeah, we've been doing our regular outreach the past 2 weeks. We've been to camps 6 times over the past 2 weeks, talking with folks, helping them get set up for winter. We've been lucky to get some pretty big clothes donations to help, get some warm stuff out to folks before it gets really cold. And it is getting really cold. So, it's tough out there right now with, winter already here and, trying to get people supported. A lot of people need tarps to keep their shelters rainproof and all that good stuff. If you have anything that you'd like to donate, or if you want to support us monetarily, our Venmo is STP_Tacoma. Thanks for considering supporting us.
Sorry, I got to unmute myself. Thank you, Wolf. And curiosity, how can folks get just straight things to you, such as the tarps and tents, if they don't want to do the Venmo? Or
Yeah, you can, we have a donation center set up, so you can message our page or through us through social media, or just message me. And we'll get that stuff from you.
all right, thank you very much, Wolf. Appreciate you and the work you do. All righty, and as you can see in the chat, Rosemary has shared the meeting norms if you'd like to review them. All right, are there any other updates from this week in the streets? And I'm sorry, I really cannot see hands because my screen is only half. So just please unmute yourselves and go ahead.
This is Luis from TRM. Just to let you know, I have outreach teams going out every day during the daytime, and also we have a search and rescue team going out 6 nights a day. They've been working with encampments and different places. We're offering coordinated entry conversations on the street. We're connecting people with services, providing items for the weather and food, etc. That goes on every single day, 5 days a week. During the daytime and nighttime, we do it 6 times a week. So that's going on.
Thank you, Luis. Let us know how we can also support you. If you need anything, please reach out to us, put your request in the chat, and we'll do our best to help out.
Thanks.
All righty. Are there any more updates for today on This Week on the Streets?
Hi, Dwayne. This is Tegan Tidball from City of Tacoma. Good morning,
Tegan.
everyone. Hi. I wanted to take a little bit of time because I know the last time I was at a meeting, the coalition wanted to meet our homeless outreach team. So our 2 members are here today. I wanted to introduce them and let them talk a little bit about themselves, even though it seems like they're already engaged in the chat. So the first one I want to introduce is Kedrick O'Bannon. He's been with the city for a few years now. And Laurel McIntyre Howard. She's very new with us. So I'm going to pop off and let them say hello and introduce themselves.
Well,
I guess I'll go.
okay.
I sort of already did. I jumped the gun a little bit, I think. But my name's Laurel Howard, and I, as I said earlier, I'm from the HOT team. I'm pretty new, only about a month and a half in. Come from doing homeless outreach with the Bremerton Police Department. I've done this about 6 years now, this kind of work. Yeah, that's me. Nice to meet all of you.
Thank you, Laurel. Appreciate you.
Hey, this is Kedrick with the homeless outreach team. I've been working with the city of Tacoma in December, it'd be 3 years. So been doing this for 3 years as far as the outreach work goes. I came from the stability site and I worked there for a couple of years when they first opened up with CCS. So yeah, probably about five years of doing this work. What our day-to-day work looks like is we go out to encampments, we reach out to the folks that are staying in the encampments just to check to see if they're connected to resources, and if not, then we kind of navigate them to the direction of services they might need. Things that we also do is try to get them into shelters. So we try to get them into the rescue mission, we try to get them down to the stability site, and then we also get folks referred over to the tiny homes that we do have. So that's kind of what our work looks like. And we're out 5 days a week doing that.
Good deal. Appreciate you guys. And if you could, if it's okay with you, if you could put your contact information in the chat so we can find out how to get in touch with you, that would be much appreciated. Thank you guys and welcome.
Okay. Thank you.
All righty. Sorry, my camera went away. So at this time, are there any more updates? If not, we will move to the winter shelter planning discussion with Luis.
Good morning, everyone. I was approached by Rob about talking about winter shelter. I can tell you what TRM plan is, and I know that we actually met probably 2 or 3 months ago, but probably all providers are planning to increase capacity. I'm gonna speak in I terms, which TRM will increase capacity by 50 on a remote site. So guests will continue to come here to our regular 425 South Tacoma Way location, and we will transport them to overnight shelter, and then we will bring them back in the morning. That will give us an extension of 50 beds from 1 November to 31st of March. As of right now, I still have capacity on my women's shelter, but that will also expand if we need to. We're increasing, we're going from 38 all the way to 50, and if we need to increase that, we will be able to do that too. So that's what we got going on.
Good deal. Thank you very much for sharing.
And before I forget, also, we are actually open all day. So if guests are here and they want to stay here for the day, they can stay here for the day.
Good deal. And can we ask, are there any restrictions as far as the shelter, or is there, I mean, could you tell us what the restrictions are, if there are any?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. Our rules are pretty easy. No violence or threat of violence, no alcohol, drugs, or paraphernalia on the premises, and no gross destruction of TRM property. If you can stay away from those three, you're more than welcome to stay here. We are a true low barrier shelter. People come to us, they might be intoxicated. We just get them to a place that they can be safe until they come down, and as long as people are not unsafe to themselves and the people around them, we are okay.
Okay. Last question, because I noticed that you have a very small animal on your lap. Do you guys allow for service animals or anything such as that in the shelter?
Okay, let me we are very open. We don't use the term service animals. We don't use the term pets. If somebody comes and tell me that that pet is good for them and the pet is safe to them and the people around them, the pet comes with them. I mean, I didn't say the pet, I said the animal.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Thank you. All righty. Are there any more questions for Luis? I see Mike has his hand up.
Yeah, Luis, I was trying to take notes on what you were talking about, and you said on the women's shelter, I had 15 was my number, but you said, what was the number going up to?
My women's shelter right now capacity is 38. We're going to 50,
50
immediately. But if that would be 50. That's immediately. But if we surpass the 50, we will be able to also have them on the overflow space.
Okay, so you're going to use the overflow too as well, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Luis, I'm new to come to this meeting, but I'm Jolynn from Goodwill, and I serve clients 55 and older. I have 4 homeless women right now, and they are over 55. Is there exceptions to the age limit for the women's shelter?
What do you mean age limit?
I thought I heard you say the women's shelter was open to people 55 or younger, 38 to 55 or something.
Oh, no. That's the capacity.
Oh, okay, great. I'm glad I heard you.
18 and over.
All right. I would love to have your contact information.
I will put it on the chat box.
Thank you very much, Luis.
I see Rosemary with her hand up, and Teresa also had her hand up.
Just a quick question, Luis. I was wondering how the continuing pandemic is affecting your ability to meet the needs of those who request to be there with you.
Thank you, Rosemary. The pandemic immediately took my capacity down by by over 60 beds. That was from the get-go. The reason why our shelter has been operating on 38 beds rather than 50 is because we spread them 6 feet apart to make sure that we accommodate for that. So that was the first part that it affected the way we serve. The second part is we used to have a dining room where everybody could come in and actually sit down and have dinner. We had to go to the takeout model, and we had to convert the dining room into a dorm in order to make up some of the capacity that we lost because of the space restrictions. So it's been tough. We actually had during the pandemic, during the early stages, we stayed pretty tight, and we had a very good record, maybe one case every now and then. Lately, by the way, the team that was on the shelter meeting, we did not have 2 cases this week. We had 2 that were inconclusive. They sent them to PRC and they were negative. But before that, we actually had 6 come positive on one particular testing day. And that creates a whole issue with where we're gonna put them, etc. So it's been tough, but we adapted, overcame, and we continue to serve.
Thank you.
So, Luis, what a good thing to see you back here. We have missed you, and I know you're very busy, and I understand all of that, but I'm very glad to see you. My question is about I know you have given a lot of thought to what would work for sheltering people, because you're right in the thick of it. If you didn't have any kind of restrictions on your imagination, is there something that TRM could do if you had enough funding that would actually increase what you're already expecting to have to increase? What else would help? And is there a way that we can help to advocate for that?
At this point, Teresa, we have thought about this, and a lot of the expansion also hinges into appropriate personnel to handle that expansion. If we had a place that we could run, physically we are at capacity. We cannot do anything else physically because we cannot build quick enough. But that will be a not even long range, but mid range plan to actually increase our space to make it still dignified, safe, and increase the capacity. But right now, if you ask me by November 1st, the only way we could do something else would be to be able to have a space that we could run to increase capacity, just like we're gonna do with the satellite site.
Thank you. And I see Maureen has her hand up.
That's my good behavior mute. Thanks, Louise. In addition to just buildings, the physical space, what about staffing? Can you bring on the right staff quickly enough to be able to expand? And I guess it's a question for the other providers as well. And yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Maureen. Staffing is a problem. We have not been able to staff quick enough, and people are not applying. 2 years ago, every time I had an opening, I had 20, 25 applications for it. Now I have openings and sometimes they go even unanswered. And that's significant.
Could we sweeten the responses if we could have some sort of across the board entry wage that people felt comfortable being able to offer? You felt good about it? What if we had a housing benefit of some kind for people?
The idea of coming up with a common benefit for providers, not just TRM, but providers at all, I think definitely will improve our odds to get staff, and also staff that are committed. Because the other part of this is the right staff. Our guests are traumatized. I don't need anyone to re-traumatize them, further traumatize them. I don't. And unfortunately, some people come here thinking that this is a paycheck. If you come to an organization like ours or other providers with that in mind, it's not going to work. Sorry about that.
Thanks.
No reason to apologize. That is very much the truth. And we thank you for putting it out here because you need to have the right heart and mind to keep doing this work. Because truthfully, as we've talked about, it's not about that paycheck. All right. So thank you very much, Luis. Are there any other questions for Luis before we move on? I will take the silence as consensus. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. All righty. Now let us move on to Pierce County shelter request information. That would be Garrett. So I shall pass it off to you and give it to your capable hands.
Thank you, Dwayne. Much appreciated. It's good to see you all today. Pierce County has put out an RFI, request for information. And the goal of this request for information is to find out what community organizations, nonprofits are interested in doing around shelter, so that when we are designing the request for proposals with actual money, we're going to be able to do a good job of matching that up to the kind of projects people are interested in doing. It's also a chance for us to learn a little bit about the challenges that you have and maybe try to figure out how to help you put together a proposal so that we can get more shelter in the community. In an ideal world, this would have taken place 6 months ago, and we would have had funding flowing in so we could actually hit our goal of having more shelter by the end of October. But that's not the world we're in. However, there is a lot of funding that's going to be connected in with this request for information. And I don't exactly know the numbers right now, but they could be as high as, so ARPA money is one of the funding sources, right? That's the American Rescue Plan Act. And the city of Tacoma and Pierce County both have substantial amounts that they intend to spend around homelessness. And a lot of that may go into shelter. So the county executive proposed around 25 million. That's money that would have to be spent through the end of 2024 on homeless services. So a good chunk of that could go into shelter. City of Tacoma has about 7 million. They're talking about spending on homeless services, probably a good chunk on shelter. And they've been involved with reviewing this request for information. So our hope is that they as well will be kind of taking a look at what providers are willing to do and sort of designing requests for proposals around that. Document recording fee money, which is a state funding source used around homelessness, pretty free money, free in terms of our ability to run different types of programs. So not a lot of limits to the types of programs we run with that funding source. We have about 14 million in one-time money that we haven't really allocated how to spend on that. It's different than that, but that's how I'm thinking about it. And then we have an increase in that of about 7 million a year going forward. And that may be money spent on shelter, that may be money spent on other things, but that's another funding source that could be using the information gleaned from this RFI when it puts out an RFP with the actual money for proposals. And Yeah, so that's a chunk, that's a lot of money. And again, the goal with this RFI is all about us as a county and other municipalities basically learning about your projects. And the work you do in this RFI is going to be able to be leveraged in the RFP process, right? So the request for proposal process is going to be very similar questions. And our goal is not to ask many things. I don't know how much time I have here, but I'm gonna just kind of jump in. I'm gonna see screen share. And this is what the RFI looks like. This is not the phrasing around it. I'm going to put the link in a minute, but this is the application form. And I just want to show it to you so you're not scared by it, right? If you've not applied for something like this before, this would be a lovely entry point for your organization, right? We've got some boring information about contacts, and we're not asking a lot of questions, right? We're asking what type of shelter are you looking at running? Who are you planning to serve? What area are you going to do it in? And then we ask a number of just sort of narrative questions. Hey, why don't you describe the project for us? You know, if it's a sanctioned encampment, right, we're interested in those not staying sanctioned encampments, but becoming something else. Do you have a plan for that? Right? Do you want to put tiny houses in at some point? Or if you want to keep it a sanctioned encampment, we're open to anything. And then some questions that aren't typical on these RFIs. What challenges are you facing? What do you need to be successful, right? Like, again, our goal is kind of all about trying to figure out how we can get shelter created and how we can get more agencies doing this work, right? So if you've got you think your organization has the capacity to do staffing, you have no idea how on earth you would find a site, great, put that in. That's your challenges. We're not sure about finding a site. We could use some help there. We kind of want to know why you want to do this work, right? Like, oh, traditionally we've done, you know, pregnancy support for women, but we found housing is so difficult. We'd love to get working on this, right? Like, how does this fit into your organization's mission? And anyway, and a couple other questions, right? But that's it. Like, what, 10 questions, right? And some of them were multiple choice. We get a little bit about kind of your staffing model. Again, this is just us sort of learning about how you're doing things. And the reason we're asking a lot of those is, again, to kind of get this sort of jump started and to make our processes, right, better tuned in to the sorts of things that people are going to be interested in funding, or figuring out if there's supports we need to create, right, so that these projects can actually happen. I'm going to put a couple links in. There is going to be an information session that you all can attend and ask questions at. I've not looked at the chat at all. I'm going to throw a few things in there. So that's a link to the proposal. And I'm going to put with the due date, right? So you've got until October 25th. So that's a couple of weeks. And then the information session. And as always, you can get a hold of me and ask some questions. I might have to refer you to the formal process, but it's also possible I can answer some questions. So I guess I'm going to ask if anybody's got any questions on that. Again, our goal is to help the whole community create more shelter, and we're excited to see our existing providers do more. We're excited to see providers from other areas. If our crew are all at capacity, coming in and doing the work, we're excited to see existing agencies that don't do this expand what they're doing. Maureen.
Not for you, Garrett, but for everybody else. Folks, this is like a once in a lifetime opportunity in doing this work. All the responding to this request for information or interest, RFI, commits you to is filling out that form. It doesn't commit you to anything else. And this is your chance, no matter how big or small your organization is, to put something on the table that can really make a difference in our entire system and in the lives of the people we're trying to serve. So it doesn't matter how small your organization is. If you've never done business with the county, this is the chance to give it a shot. It doesn't commit you to actually doing business. Maybe you can find a partner. Put it in the chat. If you're small and you'd like to access this money, but you don't want to carry the load yourself, put a request in there for a partner. There are 70 people on this call from probably 50 organizations. So this really is a moment. So use it.
And not filling this out will not bar you from doing future applications, right? So don't think that. But what the county will do is we're going to take all of these and we're going to learn what you're willing to do, but we're also going to create a prioritized list, which would be, if we were to fund these, this would be the order that we'd fund them. So this is the project the county values highest to do, right, all the way down. And I think that will help as like, oh, the county's not interested in funding my project, let me call up the county and talk about why that is, and I can retool it so that it's something that's more attractive to the funders, right? So that's, or, you can look at the projects that were prioritized and learn a little bit, about what the county is trying to do. And we're hoping that the city of Tacoma can be involved in that again, so that we can centralize some of this work, but we'll see how that goes. It's challenging enough doing this just within the county.
Thank you, Garrett. Appreciate that. Sounds like a real good way to help steer the county into the direction that we would like them to go as workers. So jump in if you can and help out. I appreciate it. Are there any more questions for Garrett?
You all know how to find me.
There it is. All right. Thank you, Garrett. Appreciate you and your time. All right. Now we are going to be moving on into our breakout sessions. This morning, we're going to be asking you all, and I'm curious, does somebody have the capacity to do the breakout rooms? Because I do not.
Lori?
I don't have it. I'm not. You do, and I think Garrett does.
Ooh, I can do that. What do we
Thank
do?
you.
Let's see, we have 70 people, 59 people, and we want to have how many people per breakout room?
No, 5.
Yeah. All righty. Well, as that is being put together, the question for today is, what brings you to the, what brings you to these meetings, and what can you and your agency do to respond to winter shelter needs? Last question, what do you need to do that? I have added those questions in the chat.
All right, and I'm going to launch you all into breakout rooms. Again, we got 12 rooms, so that should be 4 or 5 folks per room, which is perfect. So see you in 10 minutes.
Thank you, guys. I hope there was some great conversations in the rooms. There was a great one in ours. How would we like to share out? Do you want them to just put their share outs in the chat, or are we going to do it as a group? Thoughts?
It goes in the chat, Dwayne,
Okay.
in the interest of time.
Okay.
And
All
if
right.
people didn't have a scribe, anybody from any of the rooms can put whatever was important into the chat, and that way we all have it.
Thank you very much for the clarification, Maureen. So please share whatever you came up with in the chat so that we all can glean from that beautiful knowledge. Thank you very much. All righty. So at this time, as we are 1 minute late, I will pass it off to Mike Boyster, as he will be talking about Pierce County's comprehensive plan to end homelessness updates.
Okay, I want to first say, let me get the camera going here. Sorry. I got to shut that off. Got too much going. Thank you to Garrett, and most of my notes have been talked about, which is kind of cool. But again, thank you to Garrett and Maureen bringing up and talking about the RFI. I'm right with Maureen. This is, I don't think this is something that Pierce County has done, and it's information gathering. And so we need to take the opportunity to do that. So I just want to do what do they call it? A shout out to those two that brought it up. So it's, do it. The other thing is, I've asked Garrett to kind of give us a little bit of an update on the plan. It was in draft the last time. We've sent it out a number of times. In the last meeting, we tweaked it a little bit, but before, I'm going to let Garrett tag right when I'm done. Okay, Garrett? So I'm going to go through a couple things. One happens to be, and this is kind of what I said in our breakout room. I gather a lot of information from the coalition, and Garrett sent me a new shelter capacity, and he called it a pipeline, and some of those changed. Okay, I'll attach that document, but Garrett also put out there for the inclement weather. If you didn't see it in the chat, sorry, most of those were already on this file that I'll send to you, and I'll just real quickly go over that. Tacoma Rescue Mission, Women's Shelter, Luis said there was 50, so we'll add that in there. Tacoma Rescue Mission, Holy Rosary, we had 50 capacity there. Catholic Community Services and Nativity House, Overflow, there was 80. Brotherhood Rise was 20. And the Comfort Inn, we had 120 there. And so this hotel voucher thing, that may change that, I don't know. Shiloh Baptist, they're open and running, capacity of 40 beds there. And then 69th and Proctor, we had 20 there. So that's we're almost at 400 with this chart that I have. And again, I liked what Garrett said in the chat, kind of reminded us that the inclement weather beds, okay, November to March 31st. So that is the bed capacities that I have that's going to be coming on November 1st, but I'm going to say that changes. I would say it changes almost every week. So that is that portion. Who is Brotherhood Rise? That would have to come from, I think, Garrett. Do you know who Brotherhood Rise is?
Yeah, that's Gerald Daniels and his crew that are up on MLK.
Oh, somebody already jumped in there. Maureen's fast. Okay, so my next thing that I wanted to share would be the shelter work group. We originally had on 10/14 a meeting, and that was canceled. And we wanted to move that to 10/28. But after kind of discussions and everything, and with the RFI not having time to look at the information and so on and so forth, we have moved that out to November 4th. And so that's when we're going to be reviewing the RFI and that information and that data. So let's see, and that would be all my notes that I have. And then Garrett, there you go. Thank you, sir. I'm going to turn it over to you to, I will turn my time over to Senator Nyland for the remainder of my time.
I guess you could talk on this one, Mike. Thanks, Mike. So this is just a little bit of a visual of where we are. So this is it's got a number of these swim lanes. So this is kind of a mix of the shelter plan work group and the larger comprehensive plan. And again, we're start of October, and the shelter plan is basically done. I'm still working some feedback. Feedback's kind of trickling in a little bit on it, and I really want to include a lot of that. So I'm trying to work some feedback in from the city of Tacoma, and there was a nice long piece from Nate Blackmer that has actually some worthwhile things to think about. So trying to work those in, and actually the shelter plan I think won't be final for quite a while. So if things come up, or if you see a more final draft coming out, hopefully soon, do not hesitate to reach out to me and provide a little feedback. Right, the goal is to get it functioning for the community. Right. Anyway, so that shelter plan basically is showing being finished, although like I say, we'll keep editing it. The comprehensive plan is going to be finished in late November. And that plan may have some generalizations in it for things that we're just not able to get to details on, but it's going to be very much like the Continuum of Care's 5-year plan or the county's 5-year plan, just very, very specific goals and strategies to accomplish them that are clear and able to be measured, and that we can really put energy behind. We're still doing community engagement. If you have a group that would be interested in learning about the comprehensive plans work or the shelter plan work, just get a hold of me. Again, I'll throw my contact information in, but you shouldn't have trouble finding me. And I will be happy to come and talk about what we're doing and listen to what you all think about it. And we've got kind of the shelter implementation. We're still looking for funding, and we've basically identified a lot of those buckets I mentioned before. We're working on getting other jurisdictions sort of bought into funding some of this with their ARPA money, looking at you, Puyallup and Lakewood and Fife, and communities that have kind of, I think, an interest in working on shelter and homeless programs and some ARPA money to do it. So it'd be nice to figure out how we can get them really kind of working within their own municipalities in a way that maybe we've not done great in the past. And then contracting is going to take place. I probably need to update this. Probably going to be going on November, early December. Just the way that the RFI ends and then the RFP process is going to need some more time. We'd hope to have actual funding coming out of the request for information interest, but that doesn't appear to be possible. So we're going to have an RFP process, and then no one's going to be ready, right? Like, oh, I would love it all to come online immediately, and that's not realistic. And so there's just going to be a pretty long rollout, and it may go beyond March, right? But again, we've got money to spend through, a lot of this ARPA money through the end of 2024, right? So getting ourselves up and going, and a lot of it too is the county, and I think the city of Tacoma may be trying to figure out how to sustain a lot of this if after 2024, but that gives us a lot of time to figure that out. And then when we're talking about the comprehensive plan, which I'm kind of out of my lane a little bit, right, that work on funding sources is sort of ongoing. That's probably going to stretch way over this way, and then really pursuing funding is going to be a massive part of 2022, right? So the things we need to actually build permanent supportive housing and the quantities we need, that's the work of years and not work of months. So. And I hope that's useful. It's not the greatest visual. Things seem to be sliding in the project. I don't know who's project managing that, but they've got to get things back on schedule. Questions or comments? Dr. Power Drudis.
The only one who calls me that. So in terms of getting other jurisdictions involved, I'm wondering if 1220 is having any impact, or if your group is reaching out to groups who've really been sitting on their butts for quite a while and saying, hey, if you're interested in implementing or following the law, we have some ideas for you. Are you doing that? Are they reaching out to you? Is it having any impact?
Good question. We're definitely having conversations, not with that as a starting point, but I mean, not having kind of broaching the subject, like working. I don't know how to phrase this correctly. Working in concert together on this type of homeless work is not something that is baked into how these governments operate.
Because I'm just going to start pitching everything out.
And so, and so I think we're working like on who's the right person to talk to, who's the right person in the county to be talking to the right person in the city of Fife, and who's the right person in the county to be talking to the right person at this kind of operational level within the city of Lakewood. And so I think that's kind of where we are, is develop, and we know all of these people because we do work with them, but not in this way. So I think it's a little bit of Yeah.
Would it be
That's right.
helpful if people who do live in jurisdictions that are not doing much, if they wrote to their representatives and said, look, we want to follow 1220, and here is the group you should be contacting in order to do that? I mean,
I think so, right? Like if they, if they're pushed to do more around homelessness, like, because a lot of our communities don't fund any of it now, right? It's like the city of Lakewood has $50,000 of social service money a year, right? That's what Lakewood does, right? They don't have an infrastructure that does social service programs because they do $50,000 a year of social service work, right? And so that maybe not someone's main job at Lakewood, right? And so at different times it might be different people. I don't know. I'm like projecting too much into Lakewood, but I know they have a really limited budget, right? But like Tiffany Spear, is active with this stuff, but she's a strategic planner for the, right? So I think just pushing that, look, this ARPA money could be used effectively around homelessness, which is an issue in your community. And, if you work with the county, right, that might be an easy way to get involved with some of this work, right? That would be my message, I think, is that if you're wanting to do this, there's some good partners, and the city of Tacoma too, right? I know the city of Tacoma has been a big help with the city of Fife as they were working on setting up possibly a tiny house village in Fife, right? Like they leaned on the city of Tacoma because the city of Tacoma was knowledgeable and interested in providing that expertise. So just encouraging that, look, if you don't know what to do, there's organizations that do, and they're excited to help you. Jan.
I'm wondering how nimble and reactive and responsive this plan can be. For instance, we know that Safe Parking Network pilot program funding is ending, the pilot program. We know that Safe Parking Network program is successful. The timing of this county planning, how quickly can the county step up to assist with the continuing of for example, the Safe Parking Network and expansions of other types of safe sites for all methods and models like RV parking or sanctioned encampments. Those how quickly and how responsive can the county planning step up to take on what has already been started is my question.
Again, you all know I've been working for the county for like 47 days. So we'll caveat all of that. The goal for most of this money is to have a competitive RFP process that's transparent and fair. And that is in competition with the need to be responsive and agile. And so that's a good question. And I don't think that the county knows how to support safe parking right now. So I think putting a proposal in front of somebody's face with a dollar amount and is an effective way to get someone to be nimble, right? So if an agency says we need, $360,000 to do, 80 safe parking spots over X number of sites over the next 12 months, right? That's an awful lot easier for the county to process agilely and quickly than it is. We'd like to continue this going. You know what I'm saying? Like that's something that it's possible to throw in a budget proviso or something like that with leftover ARPA money, for instance, right? If there's things that are ready like that. Like how many people are you serving? Where are they going to be served? When's it going to start? When's it going to end? And what's it going to cost? Right. I mean, that's kind of the bare bones to start a conversation. Other than the RFI, right? The RFI is much more about what do you want to do, but maybe don't have the full plan ready for, and how can the county help match you up with sites or other providers and, make you successful. But what you're talking about is something, that we just need to get that sitting there ready to be funded. Again, I don't know if the county is going to be interested in funding safe parking, but I think RV parking we'd be all in on. my read of the tea leaves.
All righty. Thank you very much, Karen. I appreciate your time and your responsiveness to the questions. Maureen, did you have anything that you'd like to add before we move forward?
In the interest of time, I just put something that I had prepared for Garrett. I'm on the subcommittee on permanent housing interventions. And so we were asked for data questions, that sort of thing, research that we'd like done. And so I responded. So it's in there. If you've got other thoughts on permanent housing interventions, please give them to me. We meet again either Tuesday or Wednesday of the coming week. So.
All right. Thank you very much, Maureen. And those of you who are interested in that, please check it out in the chat. All righty. So at this time, we are moving a little behind, so we shall move to the government updates. And I shall ask, is Tegan here? I know she was earlier.
Yeah, I'm here. Give me just 1 second.
All right.
For some reason, my computer is giving me lots of trouble today.
Always, especially when you're ready to go.
I know, right? That's always how it is. Well, thanks, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be here and see everybody. And I'm really glad that our homeless outreach team could also be here and introduce themselves today. So I've got just a couple short updates today. So the first one I want to share is the Beacon Activity Center. We have found finally a contractor, and we have agreed upon a term of starting that renovations, and it will start October 22nd. So I just wanted to highlight that will start, and they estimate it's going to be anywhere from 4 if they're very aggressive, but we know construction is going a little slow nowadays due to the pandemic and shortages. So we're hoping it'll wrap up in about 6 months. I also want to highlight the Shiloh Retreat Center located at 1211 South I Street has quite a few vacancies right now. So please, if you have any single men that are in need of shelter, please reach out to them. And they have the capacity to serve 40 individuals. Also, I want to highlight that on September 20th, the transition for Thames 2 was completed and all the residents were relocated to the new Thames 4 site, which is located at 69th and Proctor. And that will be able to serve, I believe, 85 individuals and couples. And this week they began taking new referrals. So please, if you have anybody that needs space, reach out to them as well. Those are my updates. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Tegan. Appreciate you. Any questions? We see Marina with her hand up.
Thanks, Tegan. I didn't understand Beacon.
Yeah, gosh, it's been a long time coming. So in 2018, the city did a feasibility study for the Beacon Activity Center to see what kind of programming could be done there. And at that time, we determined that it could be feasible for a senior activity center and for the youth and young adult day and young adult overnight shelter. Some things happened obviously during the pandemic and some funding was lost. So we've reevaluated that in the construction that will be happening there. And so our public works department primarily oversees the building and that work. And so they have been working really hard this last year trying to get a contractor to start the phase 1 of what we're hoping to do. It's not our long-term plan, but it's what we're available for funding right now and what we've contracted for. So that's going to start October 22nd. And it's going to be some good stuff. I'll just highlight a little bit. I know I don't want to speak too much for public works. It is not my wheelhouse. I look at blueprints and I start to fade out a little bit. But we're going to add 5 single shower bathroom units there, and they're all going to be gender neutral. Everything's enclosed to the bathroom shower. So 5 of those will be included. We're going to add laundry facilities. So there'll be some for the staff that are working there, but also for the young adults and the youth that come to that building as well, so they can wash their own laundry. There's going to be a kitchenette. They're going to do some painting, resurfacing the floors, things like that. So making things ADA accessible in some areas and a little more safe in regions as well. So that's the first phase for this next 6 months of stuff that's going to do. And I know I did a high level. Like I said, I look at those blueprints and I gloss over a little bit. But I'm also happy to see if I can get some for Public Works to attend a meeting and really talk through it. I think that might be helpful as well if we're interested.
So you get, it's the youth shelter going to keep operating during construction?
Correct.
And is there a new provider? Has that been decided?
Yes, so thanks for asking. A couple of weeks ago, we reviewed the proposals that we received for a brand new operator. And so we're in the works of negotiating that right now, that contract. And so as soon as I know, and we do have a signed contract, because right now we don't have that, I would be happy to bring them and have them talk to you and move forward with what that's going to look like. But yes, we're going to continue services through this time period. We don't see a gap in services at all for the young adult shelter.
Thank you.
No, Teresa, I saw your hand. Did it go down or did I answer it?
It went down because Maureen asked my question, and I'm very glad that you found a way to keep it up and running while the work is going on. It takes a lot of creativity to manage that.
Thanks, I appreciate it. We're really looking forward to our partnership. And Vallejo, you guys have been great. We know that it's been squirrely trying to get everything moved right now. I mean, just for the record, they're like stripping on, getting rid of a bunch of stuff, and they're filling up dumpsters and doing tons of work. So I appreciate Vallejo being really receptive in allowing me to come in and do that work too, because I know it gets a little hectic.
Thank you very much for the updates, team. I appreciate you and your time. All right, if there's any more questions, we'll just put it in chat and we'll add it later. So right now we're going to go ahead and move to Jeff Rogers and his Pierce County Human Services updates.
Yeah, no update for today from our side of the house, but I do see that Valerie's on the line, and I'm definite that Valerie has an update for you.
All right.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I am in my car because we've had lots of in-person events this week. So with rental assistance, it has been busy, busy, busy. I will start off with saying that we have been invited to present at the County Leaders Conference in Spokane in November. So that's very exciting. We're going to partner with Tacoma Pro Bono and present all of the work that's been done around rental assistance, with legal assistance, and with the Dispute Resolution Center, so the Center for Dialogue and Resolution. So we'll be headed to Spokane in very cold November for a presentation. As far as spending, we did recently allocate just under $74 million in additional funds to our 9 current providers. So we have added LASA. As you know, LASA was funded under the city of Tacoma, and so we are now funding them under the county as well. And so those 9 providers will continue the amazing work, and the Application Evaluation Committee has given us authority to help allocate additional dollars because the state and Treasury are both reallocating from what they're considering low performers to high performers. We are currently at 81% spent of our funds, and national average is like 11%. So we are planning on being allocated additional dollars, both state and feds. We already have a plan of where those will go. It's going to be based on performance, it's going to be based on accessibility, it's going to be based on budgets. And so all of that is in the works with our 9 amazing providers who we just could not be more thankful for. I have a couple of in-person events as well as some virtual events. So we're having a tenant Q&A where we will present, Commerce will present about their landlord program, Tacoma Pro Bono will be there to talk about tenant rights, and the Dispute Resolution Center will be there to talk about mediation services. So I'll get you that flyer and date and time. I sent it out in email, so if you could search there first, that would be great. We're also doing a landlord version, super successful last month with over 300 people attending. And so our plan is to just keep moving that forward and doing it once a month. That answers questions, and it really builds that bond and that relationship with our landlords, because none of this is successful without the support of our amazing landlords. So we are also doing some in-person events at libraries throughout the county. We were at the South Hill Library yesterday. I don't know if y'all know, but it was cold. And then we are at 3 locations next week. We're at Lakewood, Key Peninsula, and Parkland Spanaway on Friday. So I'll send you all of those. We're also at a couple more events throughout the month. And then I was at the Coalition for Sumner yesterday, and they've asked us to come to some more locations in their area in the next couple weeks as well. So what those are is folks can come in and ask for an update. They can help apply. So I did 5 applications yesterday. The landlords come in and get updates. Tacoma Pro Bono is there as an amazing partner, giving legal assistance and advice right there on the spot. And we're just set up outside the library. So it's super accessible for everybody. And we're just answering all of those questions that sometimes you just want to see a face. So that is what we're going to continue doing as we go. We're also preparing a postcard mail out. Yes, there is a coalition in Sumner. It's the Bonnie Lake Sumner Coalition. I'll connect you. It's Mary Lise. She's the lead for it. Great group, super fun. Y'all are better, but super fun. And then we are gonna, so what those are, yeah, so they'll come in and help apply. But we're happy to come to other events. So while we were at the Coalition for Sumner yesterday, they asked us to come out to like their food bank, and they have some school events. So we're gonna do that as well. The postcard, we did one in July, we're doing another one. The new one will have mortgage assistance, utility programs, water assistance, Tacoma Pro Bono, and rental assistance. So we're gonna add everything to one website so folks can get a postcard, and no matter what their need is, they'll be able to go to one location, which I learned from Garrett is super important, and they'll be able to see what they need and apply. So that we are finalizing, and hopefully it can go out in the next week or two. And that way we can get folks just in the know of what their resources are available to them. So Rosemary, I see your hand.
This is really quick, but in our group, we discussed the terrible rising rents for people on fixed income. And I'm wondering what kind of conversation your group's been having about the expected uptick in requests for rental assistance.
Yeah, great question. And we're seeing upticks as much as $1,000 a month, which is really scary. I was asked by an elected official in a higher level of what I would need for the program to be more successful. And I said, I need rents to stop being raised. So, which is true, because that is our biggest barrier. And we're finding folks who are being ousted of their home. We met a lady yesterday who was in a mobile home park, and her lot is over $1,000 for her, just the lot, not the house, just the lot. And so she's on $750 a month Social Security. So she's got to go. And that's just really unfortunate. So with rental assistance, if they accept a payment after September 1st for an applicant who is new or new money, they have to agree to not raise the rents. So that's one way we're helping. They also have to agree to not evict for 6 months, which is another way. And we're just having lots of conversations. I know we are talking about other, as Maureen knows, other ways that we can maybe help, maybe piloting a program where once we help you with your back rent, we then can help pay deposits. We already have a great connection with Housing Connector to get folks moved into a new, cheaper location. That way the old landlord's whole, they can get someone new in, but the new landlord's supported. But we're still working out with the details of what that looks like in the new money. The new money coming in does not have COVID impact requirement. So everyone who's behind in rent will be eligible for the new dollars that will be starting sometime at the latest January 1.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions for me? Okay, well, if anyone wants to, without COVID, we won't have anywhere near enough rent assistance money. True, we technically don't have enough now, but we will have to figure out what that looks like and how we can grow that pot of money since these funds will end 2025. The state funds are permanent, but it's going to be a much smaller amount. So we're gonna have to figure out what does that look like? What are our barriers? What are our restrictions? And we are working with the state to help set up systems performance measures. And so that way we can all be aligned as far as what's the best needs for the tenants and the landlords of Pierce County. Yeah, so if anyone wants to pop into a library event, we're there for like 3 hours outside. You're welcome to show up. I can't have you show up as your business. We got in trouble yesterday because someone joined us unexpectedly, and we have an MOU, so please don't get me in any more trouble. But if you want to pop in, and if you have folks who need help applying, need updates, feel free to send them our way. We also have locations throughout the county at our nonprofits, and so that's on our Housing Help website as well. So if anybody needs assistance applying, there's lots of options.
Good deal. Thank you very much, Valerie.
You're welcome.
All right. And I don't know if you see it, Jeff, but there was a question for you real quick before we move on from Maureen. I think we might have lost Jeff.
I'm here. I didn't see the question.
She asked, where are you with a written shelter plan to cover emergency storms and et cetera?
That's a good question.
I might be able to answer that.
Go ahead, Amy. In case people don't know, Amy's with our Department of Emergency Management.
So hi everyone. On the shelter, on the plan for emergencies during the winter time. We did convene a small group. The email asking for availability went out yesterday, and this is going to look at emergency response across for unsheltered, homebound, and those experiencing access and functional needs. And so we are looking to write a comprehensive plan that will look at all our hazards in Pierce County, but the start will focus on winter. And then that plan will support human services in developing a plan for shelters and expanding shelter capacity and what emergency management can do to support that plan. So I hope that helps answer the question.
Thank you very much, Amy. We appreciate that. All righty. So we will now move on to, and we are moving behind. I apologize for that. Oh, Mike has his hand up. Or did you have something you wanted to add?
Was that for me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you. I got stuff going on in the background, so it's hard to hear. Amy, I do have a question. I know you said a plan, winter is like here almost. So when you say plan, when is that going to be ready? What's the timeline?
Great question. So we do have the after action report from the June heat wave that does provide us an outline of what measures need to be happen for all of severe weather incidents in Pierce County. And we're utilizing that as our kind of format to improve the existing planning efforts that exist. So there are existing plans that emergency management has for opening severe winter shelters that are open to all residents of Pierce County. And then we're also working with Human Services to expand the triggers in winter weather. We anticipate that that could be accomplished by the end of October with these meetings that were happening, which would prepare us right into our winter season, which we prepare for starting on November 1st. So please don't hear me that there aren't existing plans and procedures between all of our county departments. We're just looking to improve those based on the feedback we received from the coalition and different stakeholders during that after action reporting process. In addition, one of the items that was identified in that after action process was to develop a very specific plan for emergency response across all our hazards and put that into one plan. That's going to take a little bit more time to put together, and we're hoping that that'll be accomplished by the end of the year to be able to have out for comment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Amy. Appreciate you fielding those questions. All righty. Are there any more updates? I believe I'm missing somebody. I'm looking for my notes.
Yeah, this is Jenny from the Health Department.
There we go. Thank you.
Hi. Hi there, everybody. Nice to be here. I'm going to be our point person today and going forward with strong backup from our team here at the Health Department, but I'll be given reports out weekly, just like Kiwan was for the last few weeks, several weeks. I'm going to walk through some immunizations updates, testing and outbreaks, give you the latest on isolation and quarantine, and then if you have questions, please feel free. And I will, I can't talk and drop things in the chat at the same time, but if I mention anything that I will drop in the chat, I promise to do so after I get through my report. So for our immunizations work, we are in the process of transferring our shelter clinics, vaccine clinics that we've been doing with our own mobile teams over to our contractor ambulance. They've actually been doing they've actually been the vaccine provider for 6 of our sites, but we're transferring more work over to them, and we'll be working very closely with them. I'll be working with our planning and coordination team to make sure that goes smoothly. Been doing some work to partner with outreach teams to bring vaccines to encampments. That's been not a huge push of our work. As some of you probably know, Medical Teams International has been doing work with Greater Lakes team to do a lot of encampment outreach with vaccines weekly for the past, I think, 2 months now, getting a lot of great work done outside of the city. But we're actually going to partner with Comprehensive Life Resources on the 13th, so next week, to bring vaccines to the folks staying at the Highway 705 area encampment, which is a large one, as you all know. Feel free to reach out to me if you have questions about that. I'm going to drop. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Was there a question? Sorry. Nope, maybe someone just wasn't muted. There's new guidance for COVID vaccine boosters and who's eligible. So people who are immunocompromised or who live or work in congregate settings are eligible for booster 6 months after you've finished your series. So that definitely is folks you serve and maybe some of you as well. So I'll drop a CDC link in the chat that kind of outlines that pretty nicely. For those who are interested, the timeline for finding out more about boosters, the FDA is meeting next week to discuss Moderna and J&J boosters. And then on the 26th, they'll be meeting to discuss Pfizer for the 5 to 11 year age group. And then we expect to know more and have more guidance between Halloween and Thanksgiving, hopefully. So more to come on that. Have heard some concerns. I wanted to address a concern. Someone reached out and asked about people needing access to their COVID records. And this is a really gray area. Unfortunately, we're looking for more clear guidance from the state DOH on this. DOH has said that lack of proof of vaccine should not stop a medical provider from giving someone a booster if the person reports that they are eligible. This should be true for people seeking second doses as well. Medical providers who give vaccines have access to the state system to verify people's vaccination status. So really this should be happening, but we know systems are not perfect. I'm going to drop a link in the chat that outlines some of the different ways you can get proof of vaccine. I know these ways won't be accessible for all, but if you yourself are in a position to help folks with this, that would be great. And we will just continue to push DOH to give us better guidance and clearer guidance so that we can pass that on to you. And lastly, in terms of vaccinations, we've gotten questions about flu shots. We know we're getting into flu season, and we're committed to offering flu shots at our shelters and for other folks experiencing homelessness like we have done in the past. We don't have a plan yet. So I'll be reaching out to our flu vax team, finding out what their capacity is, and then working with our shelter contacts to set those clinics up. Testing and outbreaks. I've got Jennifer, I think, on the line in case folks have specific questions about testing, but just continuing testing and helping support those shelters that have had outbreaks to test regularly. Tacoma Rescue Mission's actually taking over their own testing and then working with us if they need assistance. Last positive there was 9/27. Unfortunately, Nativity House had 6 symptomatic cases yesterday, and we are waiting on those results. And they are sheltering in place because there was not capacity for quarantine beds, unfortunately. The good news there is that all 6 of those folks were vaccinated. And so since they are symptomatic and they need to be tested, they got rapid tests that were negative, but just to be extra cautious, they're doing the PCR tests and waiting for that. So good news again that they're vaccinated, but we will do our best to follow up with that. And of course, our testing branch is working closely with isolation and quarantine. We're doing our best to coordinate those efforts to get folks placed in a timely way. Okay, isolation and quarantine, which has been a hot topic and continues to be, so I want to give time for that. The current process is still the same, which is that MultiCare is doing the referral, the care coordination. I will drop the phone number in the chat as well. Call and leave a message 7 days a week. That line is monitored closely from 7:30 to 5:30, and then in an on-call basis until 10 o'clock. We are well aware of the limitations of this, and we're working hard on a new contract with a provider that would have expanded hours from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. that would be more seamless in terms of that provider would do the intake, the care coordination, the transportation, and the placement during the 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. time. And there'd be increased medical oversight available, things like that. So That is coming very, very soon. We thank you for your patience. I know this has been a really tough situation for all and really frustrating. I want to let you know what the capacity, I know Garrett will ask me, what is the current capacity for INQ? We've got, and again, this is something else I will drop in the chat for everyone to read, just can't talk and do it at the same time. 7 beds are available at Lighthouse. We only have 1 AFH, adult family home bed, available. We have 1 to 4, depends on if it's an individual or family member, emergency beds at the White House, and 1 bed available at Avenue House. So as of 10/2, so as of October 2nd, there have been 201 total referrals. The great majority of those for isolation, 181 for isolation, 20 for quarantine, and 39% of those have been placed. 61% have not. Many do not meet the INQ criteria or do not meet the facilities criteria. And as I've said before, I know there's nuance there. There are a lot of nuances in terms of the criteria, and we're working hard to try and lower barriers. But yeah, I think that's about it for me. Like I said, I'll drop some of the links I mentioned in the chat. What questions do folks have? Maureen, do you have a question?
I do, Jenny. Thanks a lot for the report. And I might have missed it, but where are we with November 1st with the low barrier INQ site?
That is a fabulous question. I do not have an update. We are just looking. I'm going to see if there's anybody here on the chat that can weigh, or on the meeting that can weigh in. Stephanie is on. I don't see Stephanie on, but I will ping her and see if she can jump on, or if she can give me an update before the end of the call so I can let you know. I just know that folks are working to try and find new space, because I know the concerns about that the Lighthouse space shutting down the end of October. So I hear your concern and I will follow up.
Thank you. Are there any more questions for Jeannie? If not, in the sake of time, we shall move on. Are there any more government updates? Or anyone else on the call? I will take that silence as it is time to move on. So I will pass it off to Teresa as she will talk about how to build community benefits agreements.
Well, people have probably a different idea about community benefits agreements than the one that I'm going to talk about today. But I want to say this is not a solution. It is a small tool to use when you're a neighborhood that has a lot of people living unsheltered in it. It's something that has worked pretty well in this neighborhood. And so I'm going to share what we've done and see if it might be useful to somebody else. So this is what most people think of as the community benefits agreement. It's been used really effectively to work on reducing some of the problems with gentrification. But one of the things about these agreements is, unless you have a very progressive government body that is pushing these, they're not really enforced. They're more things that large corporations or developers, they're agreements that people make to make it easier for them to join in a community or to be community responsible. It's not, doesn't have a lot of bite. I'm talking about this neighbor to neighbor community benefit agreement, and it's the idea that communities do benefit from agreements. Our neighborhood, this is my neighborhood, this is the scene outside my door, and you can see where we are. There's the county city building, and beyond that, the jail, and you see the, right to the left of this is where Nativity House is. So they're literally in my backyard. And if you look in the other direction, you see a beautiful view of Mount Rainier. So both views are beautiful in their own way. regarding this idea of community benefits agreements, one size definitely doesn't fit all. This is the only one I've ever worked with, is the one right in my own neighborhood. So I don't know if other people may have tried some of these things and have come to a different conclusion. I'm going to talk about ours. And the nuts and bolts of it, there were a lot of people involved in this, including some young people who had creative ideas. And I'm not listing all of the people involved, but just know that this is not me. This is my neighborhood, and I'm part of that neighborhood. Here's what we included: as little as possible. So making it simple, sticking to the things that are critical, and not no more than that. We worked on making it as clear as possible, clearly stated. And the goal was to get the issues out and get the shared interest out, not the kitchen sink. And who was included in this? We started 2 summers ago, and we had meetings in the back of Guadalupe House on the plaza there, and invited all of the people in the neighborhood who were housed and unhoused to come and chat about this. And I don't know how much the pizza had to do with the attendance, but it was pretty good. So we included as many neighbors as possible, and we invited people as early as possible and then as often as possible, because we kept having meetings. And that goal was to get as many people involved as we could and to make it clear what we were doing. Important thing to remember when you think about inviting as many people and engaging as many people as possible, the reality is that to make an agreement, the minimum number of people you need is 2. You can, if you have somebody camping on your front lawn, you can make some agreements with them. It's great to have a broader community conversation about it and broader community buy-in, but every agreement that you can come to that makes it more possible for people to survive and feel welcome and be welcome, and for housed people to be open, anything you can do there is useful until we get enough safe parking and safe lots to house all of our people. So this is not instead of that, this is while we work for that. I'm going to show you our little agreement. This is the way we started it out, that we're asking people to agree to these expectations. We don't say, if you can't follow these agreements, we are going to force you to go away. We have no power to force people to go away. The city will not enforce moving people off your sidewalk, even if you want to have them move off, during COVID especially. But we can say, we hope you'll find someplace else where the behavior that we're saying doesn't work well here might work. So here they are. Physical safety and community health agreements include these. Don't want the violence. You notice here with this one, it's not saying no one can use drugs. Our assumption is that people who are housed, some of those people are using drugs. Some of those people are doing things that are not healthy for them. We are not the nanny, but we're saying we don't want trafficking on our block, because that's caused, over the last several decades, the biggest problems we've had with violence have been around trafficking. So we're saying, no, we don't want trafficking. Safely contain and dispose of these things. Again, whether you have a house or not, these are not things that people want to be walking in. And I want to point out that when we had those meetings, the people who came to the meetings who did not have shelters, who were staying in their cars and staying in tents, had really strong feelings about wanting to feel safe, wanting the garbage not to be there. So there were actually some stronger statements that came from that side of the equation than from even the housed side. We also asked if people are going to cook, they keep their fires or stoves small, contained, tended, be careful with propane. We've had a lot of tent fires in Tacoma over the last year, and some of them have been in this neighborhood. It really frightens people when you have a fire and everything you own can get destroyed. So asking people to be careful. Then we have this list of things that are for community well-being. Respecting privacy and property, whether the person is housed or unhoused. Being mindful of noise levels. We had the summer that we started working on this, the summer before was just insane. People who were living in their cars and tents could not sleep because some of the people who came in were just so loud, firecrackers all the time. And the people who were housed also, mainly we have a lot of elders in this community like me, who don't function as well when you can't sleep. This is about garbage. It's going to be an issue whenever you have campers or people living in cars. What are they going to do with their garbage? So the city has supplied us with 2 really large black garbage cans. They are not beautiful, but they make the neighborhood more beautiful, and it gives a place that people who are living out there mainly want to keep their space clean. If you don't have a place to put that, though, it just gets piled up and you're going to have rats and you're going to have mess. And then this last one, if anybody, whether it's somebody living in their car or somebody living in their house who's a part of this agreement, we see some harm coming to somebody, we are going to deal with it in any way we can, including at times we do dial 911. Someone's safety is in danger. So then it's signed by whoever agrees to it. And that brings me to this next thing, which is the reality check. You can have a community benefits agreement without everybody agreeing to it. The more people, the merrier, but it does help. And we've found the people who helped us create this, we don't take this list out to everybody new who shows up in the neighborhood. It just has been spread because people who agreed to this tell new people. You have to ask yourself, what are you going to do if someone doesn't follow the agreement? And this comes to the point about the teeth, no teeth. Are you going to have a couple people go together to talk to someone? Are you going to have, how are you going to follow up on that without making it into an antagonistic situation, but still trying to solve it? Those are questions that every neighborhood would have to answer differently, I think. And here's the reality check question that I think we care the most about. If you're making a community benefits agreement, that all of the agreements have to apply to people whether they're housed or not. And if they aren't, you have to say, why aren't they? Because why would we expect more out of people who are living, you would have to say, under much more traumatic conditions than people who are housed in general? Why would we expect them to do more than the people in the house? And then I want to end with this. We can find safe places for people to land so that communities do not need to host unsafe campsites, because there's no way to make them entirely safe, no matter what your agreements are. When you don't have the proper hygiene stations, you don't have the proper, people don't have a place to cook, things like that. That's my little spiel, and I don't know if anyone has questions. Again, this isn't for everybody. It's a tool that has been really helpful in this neighborhood. This last summer has been the most cohesive, peaceful, collaborative time I've had in the decades I've lived here around a lot of homelessness. Turn it back to you, Dwayne.
Thank you very much for sharing that concept with us, Teresa. That I really do appreciate that, and I thank you for your time. Alrighty. So, are there any questions for Teresa before we move forward? 3, 2, and if there are any, please just reach out to her. I'm sure you can find her very easily. Alrighty. So at this point in time, we shall move into the advocacy updates. Maureen, I shall pass it on to you.
Thank you. So in the interest of time, I just want to bring one thing forward that I think is going to play out. What's playing out now, and it's going to keep playing out. And what Teresa's provided is a great addition to this conversation. which we're not going to have today. It's encampments. All right. So we've got the Protect Our City petition circulating. I know some participants in the coalition have signed off, and I know folks have been reaching out and asking why. And we understand, I think our position as a coalition is we want police to do police work. We do not want people who are simply poor or experiencing homelessness to be considered criminals, because they are not, by virtue of their poverty or their homelessness. And we're going to do, we'll have a one-page kind of just factual piece folks who want to get involved in that conversation can use. There is an attempt statewide by certain law enforcement organizations to try and claw back the state legislative changes concerning law enforcement by simply not responding to anything. All right, that is not a game we are playing. All right, so there's that petition. The State Advisory Council on Homelessness at their meeting on October 21st will have presentations by the State Parks the Washington State Patrol, the State Department of Health, and the State Department of Transportation on their current policies on encampments, with an eye towards what recommendations should go forward to the governor concerning encampments. This is a big deal, folks, all right? And that's a public meeting. The agenda is not out yet. When it's out, I will put it out. It'll be by Zoom. For sure, I'll be at that meeting. We also know that we've got the 167 project moving forward. Colin was on the call earlier. I don't know if he still is. And we know that we are not going to have everybody in safe shelter on November 1st, unless some sort of a Hail Mary pass happens. So we are going to be dealing with encampments. So how do we make them safe for the people who will be in them, so people survive? So, and we will also ask, we've seen Gig Harbor put forward an ordinance in order to be grandfathered in under House Bill 1220, which clearly is a no camping ban. They're not allowing tent cities. They're not allowing camping. I have to review the ordinance to see if they are arresting people. That's the line on Martin v. Boise. You cannot arrest people for doing what people must do on public space if you have no shelter, and there is no shelter in Gig Harbor. So, and we have asked the Washington Low Income Housing Alliance to convene the other coalitions along with us to discuss sweeps and to talk about how we have some sort of a common humane sweeps policy. I can't believe we're spending time having to do this, but we have got to keep people alive. So, okay, thanks. You know how to find me.
Thank you, Maureen. I appreciate the advocacy updates. All righty, we will, in the sake of time, move forward with the Safe Sites updates. Do we have Colin and Janet online?
Colin was here. I believe he has stepped out. The funding for the pilot project for safe parking network is ending. It's been a successful project. Monday at our noon meeting, we will talk about how to carry this work forward. And I invite anybody with any ideas on how to use this potential money coming from the county to create a larger and more comprehensive approach to safe sites for all, to include safe parking. And I'll take questions in the chat. Jeffrey or Paula, do you want to add anything?
Well, I guess what I could add is I'm looking at for our area some way to try and take on some of the safe parking initiatives, and possibly, I'm still talking with my board, so this is all still new, guys. But I'm very interested in trying to come up with being able to shelter people in place, to work with whatever property owners, DOT, that type of thing in our area where we know, you know, some of the folks that used to come to New Hope on a daily basis are now camping, but also to try and serve the East Pierce County area. So I'm trying to put together a plan for safe encampment. You know, Garrett said, put in if you're looking for locations besides one specific area. I definitely would be looking for other locations. I'm also looking for partner agencies who would be willing to help manage, provide resources, and come together. I typed that in after our little breakout session. I feel like it will be really important once the county gets all the RFIs for what they're doing. If we have a couple of agencies that are interested in increasing the outreach or working on the safe sites, I think there should be an emergency task force for that, because like everyone knows, we're not going to have indoor shelter for everybody November 1st. We may not even have that indoor shelter for everyone that's on the street for the next 6 months. I know we're all trying, but somehow we've got to, especially in this East Pierce County area, we don't have a lot of choices on where people can go. So we need to make sure that people don't die where they're located. So that's kind of the thing that I'm looking at now. So I'll keep the group informed, but it's going to take a lot of partnership and a lot of people participating.
Thank you, Paula. Jeffrey, was there any updates from you?
Yeah, I think for this winter, I'm going to start reaching out to a lot more churches through Associated Ministries. It's apparent that we're not going to get the help from the county or the cities in coughing up some of the land they own. So we know the churches have parking lots, many of them do. And that if we're going to keep the safe parking going, it's got to be through the churches under HB 1754. So that will be my push over the winter.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Appreciate that. All righty. At this point in time, let's move to our coalition committee updates. Are there any?
I just have two announcements of meetings. The governance work group will be meeting on October 12th at 11 a.m. I was going to say p.m. 11 a.m. and that will be on the website. If you're interested in thinking about those sorts of things, come and join us. And then the Race and Equity Committee will meet again in a couple of weeks. I believe it's the 18th of, it's a Thursday afternoon. So that will also be on the webpage. You can look for committees if you're interested in joining us. It's good work to be doing.
Marie?
Yeah, the Housing Committee meets Thursday, the October 14th at 4 o'clock. I'll send the agenda out on the listserv as soon as I figure it out. If there's something you want on it, let me know.
I thought I saw one more hand up. Julian?
I have my earphone plugged in. For some reason, that prevents me from being heard. Anyway, this is Julian Wheeler. I chair the Pierce County Accessible Communities Advisory Committee, and all of you are invited to our next regular session on Tuesday, November 9th at 9 a.m. on Zoom. And wanted to indicate that as we are in the midst of budget season for a lot of public bodies like city, county, other government bodies, if you have a project that can be characterized as an accessibility project, I mean, if it can be characterized as such, feel free to come to us. But what I'm saying is, if you are trying to propose a project and it doesn't make the cut, let's say the final cut with some budget considerations, then consider coming to us. We have an intake process. Our meetings, they are where we consider projects and we forward them to the state level governor's committee if we vote to advance them. And we are looking for new members and new ideas. And we are funded by the parking tickets issued to those who illegally park in disability spots. So if you want to support us in that way, just keep parking illegally. So anyway, yeah, thanks for your time. And the information I gave is largely in the chat box just a few minutes ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Julian. Appreciate that. Kelly.
Hi, thank you so much. You know, I just realized we haven't done a report out on Project Homeless Connect and Hire 253. So maybe I'll just go ahead and get on the agenda for next Friday to do a full report out on that. So really, I just wanted to, back earlier in the meeting, we had a conversation about Goodwill having CSEP and Work First participants available for internships. So if you're a nonprofit organization and you are looking for any interns, and mind you, we pay our interns, it can be anything from 20 to 40 hours a week. We are getting in participants like crazy right now. We just don't have enough host sites to place people. So please reach out to Jolene, who is on here as well, or myself, and I can certainly connect you with the right person. But I do realize we're all in staffing crises, and I just want you to know that Goodwill is here to help however we can. Thank you.
Appreciate that very much. All righty. Is there anyone else that has any quick updates? I don't see any hands, so just unmute yourself. All righty.
Thanks, Dwayne.
You're welcome.
Nice job.
So Ed, did you have an announcement about the moment of blessing that you were going to add?
Yes. Good morning. On Wednesday, October 13th at noon, we're going to have Moments of Blessing, and we're calling it Healing of Violent Death in the Homeless Community. The person who was killed was Diego Escalante, and we're going to gather to mourn his death and acknowledge his death, and then we're going to reclaim the area. Through scripture, prayer, and a blessing of the water and reclaiming rituals. So if anyone is interested in participating and helping with that, it's, let's see, at 38th and McKinley, it's the homeless encampment. Understand we will be going into the encampment, so we want to make sure that we respect everyone's homes that they're living in. And one thing I would ask is if you would send me your email or contact information so that we can start compiling a list of people who are interested in being involved, and I'll put my contact information in the chat room.
What was the date and time again on that?
Okay, it's October 13th. That's next Wednesday at noon.
Thank you very much, Ed. Appreciate
you
letting us know about it, and we will try to attend as best we can. All righty. good trouble announcements. I know we're running out of time. So good trouble announcements are a reflection on today's meeting before we let everybody go home for their Friday. All right, if that is it, we appreciate you guys showing up today and engaging in the meeting. It was a very good meeting, and apologies for going overtime. We enjoy you and appreciate you spending time with us, and you guys have an amazing Friday and a good weekend.